The Nord Stage 3 is revered by many. Musicians from all over the world consider Nord, anything Nord, to be best in class, while there are others that simply consider Nord products to be underpowered, overpriced, red hype jobs produced for those musicians who prefer style over substance. What do I think? Welcome to another video in my Gear video series. In this series of videos, we take a look at my gear and how I use it. Now, this is not your typical YouTube studio tour, nor is it simply another review in which I go over the entire spec sheet of a product, but I will be striving not only to express how I feel about my gear, but also how I incorporate it into my workflow. So hopefully this will spark some ideas in you about how to use your gear. So let's get started. All right, so let's give a quick overview of the Nord Stage 3. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Nord line of keyboards, this is the Nord Stage 3 compact version with 73 keys. It has a nice waterfall semi-weighted key bed. And what that means when we say waterfall is that at the edge of the keys here, they're rounded versus a typical, like a traditional piano, which is going to be more squared off. And it's that way on purpose, where it's rounded because it has the organ player kind of in mind. It makes smears and stuff like that much more comfortable on your hand. You don't hurt your hand there when you're doing those kind of smears, because that's the way you play an organ. Oftentimes that's the style of playing the organ. And so it has the waterfall key beds, semi-weighted, has a very nice response, is very fast. Like an organ is. It is also the only keyboard that has the physical drawbars. Not the only keyboard, the only Nord keyboard in the stage line that has the physical drawbars. So that's nice. So having those physical drawbars really does help when it comes to live playing, and that's really what this keyboard is catered for. It is really catered for the live player. So that's why they call it the Nord Stage. Its primary function is actually for the stage. Can you use it in the studio? Absolutely. But its primary function is designed for the stage. It's designed with the live player in mind. So the top of the keyboard here is all made of metal. It's a nice metal construction. The side end caps, which you cannot see on the camera, but the side end caps are made of wood. So it's nice wooden, upscale materials. And the bottom of the keyboard here, like the other part of the keyboard, yes, this is made of plastic. Now it's not flimsy and it doesn't flex and whatnot, but it does help with the weight. So this is a very, very light keyboard. And so when I am taking this keyboard out and gigging, it is by no means backbreaking or anything like that whatsoever. Carrying it, handling it, picking it up, putting it on the stand, taking it off, tear down, set up, all that kind of stuff is really a breeze with this keyboard. Now, the Nord Stage 3 keyboard is broken up into 3 sections. It has an organ section, it has a piano section, and it has a synth section. Well, 3 main sections: an organ section, a piano section, and a synth section. Your piano section has all of your pianos and parameters for a piano. Your synth section has all of your synth sounds, and it has also when I say the synth sounds, has all of your sampled sounds. So horns, trumpets, bass, flute, all that kind of stuff is in there as well. Also, you can do all of your own kind of like sound designs, like synth sound designs, using like sine waves, super waves, saw waves, whatever. I will go over that in a minute. And then it has your some other sections here. You can't see it, it's off the camera. Has your effects section, as well, and then your kind of your main section to set up your programs and whatnot. Now the Nord Stage 3 has 3 specific sound engines, and so one of the complaints, and it's one of mine, believe it or not, but we'll get to that in a minute. One of the complaints is that people think that the Nords don't have good polyphony. Like the polyphony is really low. So they'll look at something like a montage, Yamaha montage, or the Modi X or whatever. I have that Modi X as well. People look at the polyphony and say, well, the polyphony on the montage is 128 voice polyphony, 128 voices for your AWM2 section, and then 128 voices for your FM section, or so you get 256 total polyphony. And people think that the Nord stage polyphony is really bad, but yes and no. So so the reality is that you have three separate sound engines. You have your organ sound engine, you have your piano sound engine, and you have your synth sound engine. Each one of these sound engines has its own polyphony. So the organ sound engine has unlimited polyphony. There is no limit to its polyphony. You can play all the keys at the same time, and you won't run out of voices. Your piano polyphony is 120. So your piano polyphony, your sound engine, piano sound engine is 120 voice polyphony. So you have your 120 voice polyphony for all of your piano sounds, and then a separate sound engine does the unlimited sounds for the unlimited voices for your organ sound engine. So you could layer a piano and an organ together and have absolutely no polyphony issues because the organ is using its own polyphony and the piano section is using its own polyphony. Now, when you get to the synth section, this is where I have a little bit of a gripe because the polyphony is only 32. I really wish that polyphony was just unlimited just across the board. So like the Decibel S9 series of keyboards, I believe it's the S9, the Decibel, it has some kind of a processor in there where it's completely unlimited polyphony. You can use 320 oscillators. I mean, you're not going to run out of notes when you're playing. And I do wish that the Nord Stage series had more polyphony, but specifically in the synth section, because the synth section is only 32. The polyphony in the synth section is 32 voices. And yes, that is on the low side. I would at least like to see it at 64. If you can't do a full 128 or 120 or whatever, or do something unlimited, at least 64, just so you're not running out of voices. However, the reality is when I'm using the synth section, oftentimes I'm layering it with another section. So the 32 voices really is all by itself. It doesn't steal from the piano, or the piano doesn't steal from it, nor does it have to steal from the organ doesn't steal from it. It's really 32 voices all by itself. And so I really don't have, to be quite honest, I don't really have polyphony issues. I mean, every now and then, if I'm laying on the sustain pedal, playing some sort of a string patch and a pad at the same time, and I'm laying on the sustain pedal, then I might run into, some voices cutting off, but I know how to modify my playing. I've just been playing for years with keyboards that had far less polyphony than these, and so I just kind of modify my playing a little bit. I do wish for the price point it had more. However, I don't really have that many polyphony issues because the various sound engines, 3 sound engines, they all use their own separate polyphony. Now, I also own a Roland the Roland FA08. I use the Roland FA08, and in the Roland FA08, even though it's 128 voices across the board, and people would say, well, that's good enough. They know that's a pretty good polyphony. It's 128 voices, but it's only one sound engine, and they all use those same 128 voices. I cannot have an organ, a piano, and a pad playing at the same time and strings without running into major polyphony issues in the Roland FA08. And that's because it's all pulling from the same 128. So when you're thinking about a Nord Stage 3, if you're thinking about a Nord Stage 3, or if you're concerned about polyphony, you have to remember that the organ has its own polyphony, and that organ section's polyphony is unlimited. The piano section is 120 voices, and that's all by itself. And then you have your synth section, which is kind of the smaller end of the polyphony, which is 32. Of course, once again, it's 32 voices, but it's 32 voices all by itself. So when you layer it with the piano, those voices are not being stolen from one another. All right, so let's talk about what I like specifically about the Nord Stage 3 and why do people buy Nords. So when I started out the video, I talked about how some people consider them to be, underpowered, overpriced, red hype jobs, produced for musicians who prefer style over substance. And so people seem to be like in two camps when it comes to the Nords. They either really love them or they think they're overpriced and people hate them. And so I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. Now it is true. So I own a Korg Kronos workstation. And if you are looking to get the most keyboard for your money, then this is not the keyboard to get. If you're looking to get a keyboard that is just full of features and you're looking to get the best bang for your buck, so to speak, then this is probably not really the keyboard for you if you're just looking for bang for your buck. So the Korg Kronos does pretty much everything, but that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to be an all-in-one solution that does everything. But I think the reason why people really love the Nord line, the first thing is the sound. Now, sound, of course, is very much a matter of opinion and a matter of taste. So you may like the sound, you may not like the sound. I do like the sound of the Nord. So yes, I really do like the sound of the Nord, especially the keyboard, especially the grand pianos. I like the woody sound. This is specifically the white grand. This is my favorite. This is my favorite patch, my favorite piano sample is the white grand. Love the sample, love the woody sound, love how I can make it really kind of an intimate piano. I really like its sound. And then of course I like the sound of the the upright pianos as well. I mean, it really sounds like an upright to me, a recorded upright. Doesn't sound like an upright is in the room. Like if you have this keyboard and an upright in the room, you are going to be able to tell because it's coming through speakers which one is not really an upright. But I'm saying it's a good piano sample, basically. I really do like the sounds in it. And so people who buy Nord, oftentimes they buy it because they like the sound. Not only that, but it's not just the sounds, and it's not really just the features. But Nord offers a different playing experience. Of all of my keyboards, my most fun keyboard to play is my Nord Stage 3. It is not my most quote unquote powerful keyboard, but it is my most fun keyboard to play. And there's just something about the workflow of having a knob per function that really doesn't stifle your creativity while you're playing. My Chord Kronos is far more powerful and can do far more things. Okay, but for instance, to give you an example, so we have this white grand piano. Sample, right? Now, suppose I wanted to add some compression to this piano. I didn't want it to sound like this, but I wanted to add some compression. All I have to do, I'm over on the side of the keyboard where you can't actually see what I'm hitting, but I'm in the effects section. I hit a button and I turn a knob. All I did was hit a button and turn a knob, and I have instant compression, and I can turn the knob and dial in how much compression I want. So it's one knob control, and you get compression. Now on my Chord Kronos, I have to go into a menu, and if I have multiple sounds all kind of together, like in a combination, then I have to do some effects routing, and then I have to select a certain compressor, and then you have to understand, because it's like a real compressor. So you have to understand threshold. You have to understand makeup gain. You have to understand ratio. You have to understand the aspects of a compressor and dial those things in. You have to understand all those aspects and how they relate to one another and dial those things in to get compression. Now, of course, you can control the kind of compression that you get. It's not just a one knob and you turn it and you have compression, you turn it down, you have less compression. You can really dial in a specific type of compression. So if you want to record your voice into the Chord Kronos and add a specific type of compression to your voice, you can do that. With the Nord Stage 3, you can't. But because it's designed for live and designed to have a quick workflow, you just hit a button, turn a knob, and you have compression. You can turn it down, or you can turn it up and have something that's highly compressed. And so that's a great feature, but that's literally how like all of the features work. It's basically knob per function. There's very little menu diving. If I want to add reverb, literally once again you hit a button, turn a knob, and you can hit another button and change the kind of reverb. So that was a stage reverb, but you can go to like a hall reverb. And so you got a few different hall reverbs. You got a couple of different room reverbs. As a room reverb, I can add compression to the room reverb. Now, all of these things would take considerably longer for me to do either in the Modi X or to do them in the Chord Kronos. But here I can do them on the fly. And so when you're creating, or you just want to sit down and you want to play, or if you're doing something live and you want to, kind of tweak different things as you go, these are things that you can do very, very quickly with the Nord Stage, and you cannot do them very, very quickly on other keyboards. And so you are paying for that experience. Then it has the physical drawbars and stuff as well. Playing the organ, I can just turn on my organ section, and then I have my organ, and of course you have your physical drawbars. So when you're playing, you can adjust your drawbars at this. You can adjust your drawbars while you're playing. Now you can do this on other keyboards with sliders and whatnot, but it doesn't have the shape of the actual physical drawbars because it's not, you know, my sliders on my Chord Chronos do a multiplicity of things. Yes, I can use them as drawbars, but they can turn up and down volumes and do different things. And so they don't come with these, you know, physical drawbars, but this has actual physical drawbars. And so it's very, very tactile. And for people who play the organ, it's going to be a very familiar feel. Hit a button and you have your leisurely. So very quick, very easy. I can dial in overdrive. Really easily, really quickly. So the keyboard works very, very fast when you're using it. In that manner. I can add percussion. Now, I'm not really an organ player, but I can kind of fake it on the Nords Stage 3. And I really love the tactileness of the controls. And I think that's what people are buying it for. And not only that, but so you have your various sections. You have your organ section, you have your piano section, and you have your synth section. If I want to, turn on my piano section, I just hit a button. Now my piano and my organ section are on at the same time, and these knobs here adjust my volumes. So I can turn on my piano, turn my organ down. So I got both playing at the same time. And again, I will not have any kind of polyphony issues playing this way because they're all their own separate section. The piano is using its own polyphony and the organ is using its own polyphony. And so not only that, but it has a panel A and a panel B. And what that means is I can have two pianos playing at the same time, two organs playing at the same time, and two different synth patches or sample patches playing at the same time. So that's a total of actually 6 different instruments. So you have your panel A and you have your panel B. So you can layer them. So it's not just a matter of you can only layer one organ, one piano, and one synth, but technically you can layer 2 pianos, 2 organs, and two different synth patches as well. So, and again, if I just want to turn them off, that's it. I can turn on my synth section. And if you understand synthesis, which I recommend that you learn about synthesis. Now, I've learned how to use the My I've learned how to use the Nord Stage 3 by going to a channel. It's called My Keys to Music. I'm going to put a link in the description to that channel. Also, he has a website, My Keys to Music website. It is phenomenal stuff. If you are a Nord user, you have to go on this man's channel. He will explain everything in detail, how to use everything. He also has an actual a course that you can purchase and learn how to use everything when it comes to the Nord. And he has a course where he goes over synthesis specifically, so you learn how to use, so you learn what oscillators and stuff are, and learn what envelopes are, and learn what, the frequencies and all this kind of stuff. You learn all of that stuff. So you can turn up the filter. And it's just with a knob. Now, of course, I can assign this knob parameter. I can assign it to a wheel. I can assign it to my control pedal, or I can assign it to aftertouch and control the filter. But everything is immediate. It just offers this instant gratification without setting anything up. I could change the oscillator, and change it to, because right now that was on a triangle. I can turn it to sine. So just like that, now I have a sine. Turn my piano back on, and now I have my sine wave and my piano. And then I can go over here and I can turn on my organ. So now I've got organ, I've got a sine, and piano. And so that's what I mean when I talk about not really having any polyphony issues, is because everything is on its own separate channel or own separate engine. I don't really run into polyphony issues. Now, if I really stacked it and added maybe some more strings or something in the synth section, added another piano, then I might run out of some polyphony on the specific channels. I probably wouldn't run out of any of the piano, because at 120, even layered, I still don't run out of any. Where I would have an issue is more likely going to be in my synth section, but that's how quickly these work. So how do I incorporate my Nord Stage 3 into my workflow? Well, primarily I use my Nord Stage for what it's designed for, primarily, which is live playing. I use this primarily for live. Now, I do use the organ because I really love the organ section. So when I am recording something in the studio, I will often use my Nord to record my organ parts, my organ stems, because I really like the organ section in this keyboard. The way it sounds, it really rivals the software organ patches that I have. The organs, to me, in this, they sound excellent. Now, of course, It doesn't sound like a real B3 Hammond organ to me, but in a mix, it most certainly gets the job done. And I like the tactile feel, and I'm playing and I'm recording, and it's like having an organ player playing in a band, really playing on the track. But I primarily use my Nords Stage 3. I use it live. It's very light. It's not a heavy keyboard. It's very light, and so if I've got to take a keyboard somewhere and I just got to basically throw a keyboard in the bag, flip it over my shoulder, and go. Oftentimes this is the keyboard that I'll be taking if it's not a complicated live setup. So I'm in a band, and the band that I'm in often requires me to do some complex stuff where you may have to do some like the sounds of a fire engine, or and I need more complex splitting and stuff, options and stuff like that. And so my Chord Kronos is definitely my main keyboard. But there's times where the Chord Kronos is too much. If I'm just playing a piano, or just playing piano and organ, or piano organ pads or something like that, the Nords Stage 3 really covers all of that, as long as I don't have to do anything that's going to be super like production heavy. If I'm doing basically live playing, then I have no problem just taking my Nords Stage 3. But oftentimes, I will couple this with my Chord Kronos. So this will be my top board. My Kronos will be the board that'll be on the bottom. So there is no one keyboard that does everything I want it to do exactly the way I want it to do it. In fact, they can't. Sometimes I like a weighted key, and sometimes I like a semi-weighted key. Obviously, I can't have both, and so that's why I have multiple boards to fill multiple needs. So that's how I really incorporate it live. And sometimes I will plug this in. I'll just plug it into my Scarlett audio interface. I'll just plug it in there via MIDI, and I'll use it just to use the feel of the keys when I'm recording stuff into Ableton, because that is my DAW of choice. I will use it just so I have the feel of the keys, because I really like the feel of this keyboard. Now, I like the feel of the Arturia Keylab 49. That semi-weighted keybed is excellent. It's not a waterfall keybed, but it's a semi-weighted keybed, and I love that. But it is only 49 keys. So every now and then, if I need more keys, I will just quickly plug this in and record stuff, whatever. So I'll use the keys that way. But again, I use the Nords Stage 3 for live, and I believe it really excels at doing live. Let's talk about a little bit about the things that I don't like about the Nords Stage 3. And one of the things, I mentioned it before, is the polyphony in the synth section. I wish it was larger. That way it was just never a concern when I have if I have a horn patch in pads or strings or whatever the case may be, that I'm never actually having to really worry about polyphony. If it had 128 voice polyphony for its synth section all by itself, and then the piano section had its own polyphony, the organ section had its own polyphony, I would never run out of polyphony whatsoever. Not that I have a polyphony problem because of the way I play, but I do wish that it had more polyphony in the synth section, so I didn't have to worry about it. A lot of the reasons why I don't run out of polyphony is because I know its limitations, and so I play in such a way to make sure that I'm not getting any notes and stuff like that cutting out. So I do wish that it had more polyphony in the synth section. Another thing I wish it had, the Nords Stage 3, is I just wish it had more room. You have 2 gigabytes for your like your piano section, 2 gigabytes of space. And the pianos, they really sound good. Now, the grand piano, I think it's the Berlin Grand or the German Grand, one of the Grands in the Chord Kronos is a 9 gigabyte piano. Like, the piano is huge. But I think a lot of that, because the piano is modeled, it's not sampled. It's a modeled piano. And the editing capabilities of the Chord Kronos, I can I can change, the lid on the grand piano sound, how high it is or how low it is. There's all kinds of different parameters. I can adjust the string resonance and how it is. I can address, there's so many different things I can adjust basically using the Chord Chronos. It's like a plugin basically, and you have control over all of these different aspects of the piano. And I think that's what really makes it 9 gigabytes. The white grand is megabytes. It's not a gigabyte. It's 200 and something megabytes, I believe it is. And so it sounds really good, but you can't edit every single parameter of the piano. It's either you like it or you don't. But I wish that overall it had more room. I would like to be able to take all of the grand piano sounds that I like and carry them at the same time in the board. All of the upright pianos at the same time that I like, take them with me. But I can't. So it actually comes with software. The sound comes with a sound manager, and you can load your sounds and stuff in here that you want. And but you have to remove some sounds in order to do so, because when it comes full. You have to remove some sounds in order to put sounds in. Basically, I just wish it had more room. It's not a lot of room inside of the board. And now, especially with the new Nord sample editor, because now you can actually load samples into your Nord Stage 3. And again, My Keys to Music, he has a course on using the Nord sample editor. Go and check it out. But literally, I can record my voice, put it in here, play it on the keys. I could record a flute, put it in here, play it on the keys. I could record a synth from Omnisphere, put it in here, play it on the keys. Like that really takes the Nord Stage 3 up levels. Before that wasn't something that you could do with the Stage 3, but now you can. But the only thing is you can upload samples into your board, but your board doesn't have that much room. So I wish the Nord had more room in it so you could carry more samples and stuff with you. So I wish I had more room. I wish I had more polyphony. And my last small kind of a gripe, obviously none of these things are a deal breaker because I have the board. I've kept the board. But my last gripe of the board would just be something that is rather simple. The outputs on the back, the channel outs, are unbalanced, and I wish that they were balanced, so I never had to worry about noise. Now, of course, I have never had problems with noise and interference and stuff with cables and whatnot or whatever. But I wish when you are paying this kind of money for this kind of a board, I would like all of the hardware to be the best hardware that's available. And so it would be nice if instead of having the unbalanced jacks, it had balanced jacks. Now I use a mixer when I go on stage. I have direct boxes, and so I go right from my keyboard to a direct box into a sound system, or right from my keyboard into my mixer. My mixer goes into a sound system, and that creates a balanced signal. I understand that. But what I'm saying is those are different things that I have in place. I have other equipment, and I can use those different things in order to make sure that I'm not getting any signal interference. But I think the board itself should still come with balanced jacks. That way you never have to worry about it, and you can run cables as long as you want to run them 100 feet if you had to, and just don't have to worry about it. You never want to be the person on stage that's causing the noise and causing issues for the sound person, especially when you're going into a venue and you're being paid to play. Of course, I have those other things set in place, so it's not a big deal. Again, it is not a deal breaker. To me, it's just the principle of give me high quality jacks on the back of a keyboard when I'm paying top dollar. But outside of its space, outside of the synth section, Polyphony, and just not being able to take all of my stuff with me and the jacks on the back, those are really, and they're small, those are my really only gripes about this keyboard. This keyboard is absolutely a joy to play. I love to play it live. when I'm using it for what it's designed to be used for. I love how quickly I can create sounds and do different things. Things that would take me forever on the Korg Chronos to do, I can do it on this very, very quickly. Again, you can't get as deep, but you can get a lot of sound changes and tweaks and all kinds of different things really quickly with this board. I love the workflow of this keyboard. I mean, I can't say enough about it. I love it a lot. It's really fast. It's really fun to play, and I love the sounds. So thank you for watching another video here on my Gear video series. I know this video was a little long, but I really wanted to talk about the Nords Stage 3. I do not believe it is overpriced. Yes, it does have some limitations. You cannot layer 16 sounds all together and split them anywhere you want to on the keyboard and stuff like that. But I think what you're paying for when it comes to the Nords Stage 3 is you're paying for a certain user experience. And it's an experience that you cannot get with another keyboard, with the knob per function functionality. Also, you get sounds for life. So if I want a different grand piano and I don't like the white grand piano, I can take that grand piano out and put in a different grand piano and just download it onto my keyboard by simply plugging it in and using the sound editor. I can upload any kind of sounds that I want to. So people who basically people who have maybe the Nords Stage 2, they can still get this same sound on their keyboard. They can get the white grand. All they have to do is just plug it in and download the sound into the keyboard, because all the sounds with Nord are free, and they're constantly updating their sound library, and so you can constantly upgrade your keyboard without going out and buying another keyboard. So that is a wonderful feature. So you're paying for that value. Now with the Korg Chronos, I don't think that there aren't that many free sounds. I mean, you can get some different sounds from Korg, but they're going to cost you sometimes $100, sometimes $200 to download a new sound. So when you buy this keyboard, you are buying an experience. And so what I like to liken it to is I like to compare it to the reason why people buy Apple. So people often buy Apples and use Macs as their computer of choice. But the reality is, if you just go out and compare dollar for dollar, you can get a PC. A $3,000 PC is going to be more powerful than a $3,000 Mac. A $4,000 PC is going to be more powerful. It's going to have more power than a Mac of us, at the same price. But the reason why people buy Macs is because they like the experience of it. They like the operating system. They like the hardware. There's other things about a Mac that they like, and so they are willing to sacrifice power to get something that they like, that offers them an experience that's enjoyable to them. And I think when it comes to the Nord, that's what people are paying for. Yes, I think the red does play into it, because the red stands out. Other boards aren't red. They don't stand out. They're black, they're gray, they're, whatever the case may be. This board just has a distinct character that really stands out. Some people hate the red. Then maybe it's not for you. Every board is not for everybody. But I don't think that they are overpriced, especially considering how you get all the sounds and whatnot for free, which is not something that you get with a lot of other keyboards. And then just the experience. You're just paying for a certain workflow and ease of use. And so if you think it's just overpriced, then I think maybe you should look elsewhere. But me personally, I don't think that they are overpriced. If you really like the sounds, you're not going to find another keyboard that sounds like a Nord. And if you really like the workflow, you're not going to find another keyboard that has a workflow like the Nord. So I'm going to close out this video by playing a few sounds. All of these sounds are just sounds that are in my Nord that are either downloaded from their website or that already came with it, just so you can hear some of the different sounds and whatnot that it has inside of it. Of course, there's sounds for the Nord all over the place that you can, videos and stuff that you can watch. But once again, thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it.